shortest player ever in the NBA, but he's big on character. We're talking to an NBA legend. We're talking to Muggsy Bogues next on the Delano Little Show.
Bayhackle Sports presents the Delano Little Show.
As promised, we have with us Muggsy Bogues. We've been trying for the longest trying to get you because you're so busy, though, but we really appreciate you being here with us.
Oh, I appreciate you having me on the show. You know, I'm just so fortunate and thankful that, you know, people want to have my time, and I'm just grateful for, you know, to be in this position.
Well, it's good to have you. What I do is I Google everybody before just to see if there's any tidbit I can, you know, see and find that we have in common. I found something. We are exactly the same age right now. Right now. I mean, right now we are the same age as this is being shot. One of us is 6 months older.
Oh, 6 months older.
6 months older and 6 months wiser. but I won't say who that is. Man, it's good to have a legend here because you're truly a legend. We'll talk about the Hall of Fame at some point, but I mean, everybody talks about you as being a legend. And the fun thing about you is you came on the scene, and we came on the scene at the same time pretty much. You came over here in '89 after the draft, the supplemental draft, or basically the expansion draft. And that had to be one of the best moves that I believe the Charlotte Hornets have ever made, because you were the embodiment of that team that came over here and started. And did you feel that way when you came? Did they tell you that that's what they wanted from you?
Well, no, not exactly, but I felt it. You know, having some experience in the Carolinas, you know, going to Wake Forest, spending 4 years in that environment, and being able to travel sometimes to Charlotte, been playing UNC Charlotte over at the Independence Coliseum, and so I had an opportunity to get to know Charlotte a little bit, but didn't know much about it. You know, but I was still on my high horse, being drafted 12th overall by the Washington Bullets, which was in my backyard, being raised and born in Baltimore, Maryland.
Right.
So that was, you know, DC was right in my backyard. So I felt excited, felt the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulder the day of the draft. But I was a little disappointed when they let me go, because coming off of my exit meeting, you know, they was explained to me that, you know, they was going to bring younger guys in to kind of fit the style of play that I like to play.
Right.
We had a combination of ages on that team. Moses Malone, may he rest in peace, who took me under his wing at the time. He was on his way out, Manute Bol and so forth, Jeff Malone, Darrell Walker, those guys, Bernard King. But when I got the call that I was going to be coming to Charlotte, you know, as I said, I was a little disappointed. But once I got here, like I said, I had a familiarity with the Carolinas, meeting the owner, George Shinn, and some of the other players, and Del Curry and Rex Chapman. You know, I started to feel a little more relieved. I felt like this is another opportunity for me to shine, to showcase my skill set, to let the world know that a guy my size is capable of playing with, you know, the best in the world, which considered was the NBA. So I felt relieved, and I felt then it started to believe, you know, this could be a match made in heaven for me.
Well, it was a sellout every time you went over there. It was electric.
Yeah.
Cy Bayhackle, who was the owner here of Bayhackle Sports. They created this for everybody, and to get you the energy that you brought every night was just it was electric.
The support was unreal. It was surreal, really. I mean, having 24,000 screaming fans night in and night out. I recall our very first game where we played the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, the gentlemen dressed up in their tuxedos, the ladies came out in their gowns. But unfortunately, we lost by 40 points that night, you know, to the Cavaliers.
It didn't matter, though, did it? Back then, it just didn't seem to matter.
Well, you know, at first it didn't. But then, at first it did matter, but then it didn't, I should say. Because as we was walking off the court, the entire audience, the entire crowd stood up and gave us a standing ovation. And then we knew, you know, we had a special situation that we was here in Charlotte. I mean, 9 straight years, it was a sellout, 24,000. We led the league in attendance.
It's
It
crazy.
it was very hard to get a ticket. I believe we had probably 10,000 people on a waiting list. So it was really not only just a city that was supporting, it was the entire region. Was really pretty much backing the Hornets back then. So we was new and we was exciting, but it was known as a collegiate town, a state. But now professional basketball was in the area and everybody was excited to see it.
And they really prompted everything else that came here with the Panthers and everything else that was big.
Yeah.
You used to make me mad. I'm gonna tell you why. Because back then I had just come here and I was a sports photographer. And they had me sitting there. I don't know if you remember that. They used to put us underneath the basket and you had to sit down kind of Indian style and man, I tell you what, it was hard to capture you because every time you weave through the traffic so much, and I'm like, would you just come straight at me? I mean, you were very frustrating, but it was fun. What did it make you feel like? I mean, being the shortest ever to play the game in the NBA, to be able to play amongst that. When did you know and feel like you could do that? Was it in high school? When did it come about?
It's been early on. Early on in my days growing up, pursuing the game, and I think it triggered it all when I got shot at the age of 5 years old. I think that's where it set the stage. My mind changed, my mindset changed. I didn't care about what anyone thought about me or what my size was or what the criteria needed to be. I was just on my journey. I was on my path. And I absorbed so much knowledge about the game of basketball through a gentleman by Mr. Leon Howell, who was a director at the time in our neighborhood. And by him giving us that information, giving us that vision, myself and Reggie Williams, who was fortunate enough to make it all the way to the NBA as well. I mean, we just were two sponges soaking up that information. And when I understood the game and my position, I felt like if I played against the best, if I had success against the best, I must be included with the best. Having that mindset each and every time I stepped on the court, I kept climbing up the ladders. And I always felt like, having that understanding of the game, if you have success against the best and you get included with the best, now you amongst the best, that allowed me to keep believing, to keep understand that, I'm just as good as anyone who plays this game. The game of basketball is not just meant for bigger and taller players, it's for whoever has the ability to play it. And
you grew up in a tough area, so it was kind of an escape for you, and I would imagine now that you look back on it, very appreciative of how everything kind of came out.
Absolutely, and it was a village that raised us back then. A lot of negativity was going on outside of our household, drugs, gun violence, and so forth. But those OGs, I should say, who was kind of controlling the neighborhood. And
let me let everybody know that OG is old gangster. And I didn't know that one day, and people started laughing at me when I didn't know what OG meant.
And they controlled the neighborhood, and they were the one that was, that was doing the things that we knew that we shouldn't be doing. But at the same time, those were the ones that say, stay away from this. You got a dream, you got a path that you're on, and you need to stay on that path. And that allowed us to be, kids and be able to, continue to explore our craft and the things that we was interested in. And I think that allowed us to keep believing and keep staying on our goal, staying on our path. And I always felt like, again, as long as I take care of my responsibilities and put myself in a situation where, they have to make a choice, let my play dictate whatever that may be. Gotcha. And I was able to, break down those barriers, and coaches start to feel the impact that I was having out on the court.
Gotcha. Well, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about your relationship with Dell Curry and Steph Curry as well, and much more. We're going to talk about some of your charities, because you do charity work. Absolutely. And you do a little bit of everything. We're going to be back here with Muggsy Bogues on the Delano Little Show. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Delano Little Show. Joining us, the incomparable Muggsy Bogues. I mean, it's just amazing to have you on the show. And you've been quite involved in the community as well, but I know you and Dell Curry are both golfers. You're a former teammate with the Charlotte Hornets. You both were signed in the expansion draft together. You guys have been tied at the hip for a long time.
Yeah, believe it or not, I met Dell in college. And he was at Virginia Tech, I was at Wake Forest, and I was having some difficulties at the time, and I thought that I was going to leave Wake Forest. And believe it or not, Dell and I just connect one day when we saw each other at the tournament, and we exchanged numbers. And when I was going through my difficulties, I actually called him and asked him what the situation was at Virginia Tech, and he told me, "Come on down," you know.
Right.
But unfortunately, I you know, thankfully.
So you guys knew each other even before then.
Yes,
So you guys already had a relationship. Then what happened when you found out that you were going in the expansion draft together? Did y'all call each other and like? Oh,
we did not. Well, I didn't find out until we got to Charlotte, and it was very special because you know I think both our games complemented one another, and for us to be able to last the longest in Charlotte history, I mean, it says something right there. Absolutely. In terms of our testament of the game. But I gained a brother. You know, I gained a brother that we became so, you know, tight at the hip, and where we was fortunate enough to play out of my 14 years, 11 years together. You know, 9 in Charlotte and 2 in Toronto. So.
Yeah. And the families became close
family
too
became
as well.
close. The kids became
Kim,
close.
yes.
Wife Kim, and you know him and his family as well, and of course the boys and Seth and Steph, and as well as Sadell, and just seeing their growth and where they are with their careers at this stage. I mean, is mind-boggling to me, especially you know what Stephen was able to do. I mean, no one even seen that coming.
Absolutely.
But for both for Steph and Seth to be able to reach their dreams, to play in the elite, I'm quite sure Dell and Sonia are very proud of them.
Yeah. Now you were credited with. You're not in the NBA Hall of Fame. I mean, which I think you should be. Some people say the numbers aren't there, but you're still a legend at 5'3", what you did, all of that. I know Dale is not in there, but do you get some type of pleasure that you know that Steph's probably going in at some point, because you were a role model to him, because he would see you in the locker room when he was growing up and see somebody that was a little bit shorter than some of the other players, and he's not the biggest guy either. And that helped him out to move on, right?
Absolutely. I am so thrilled the way he was able to conduct himself on and off the court. And then, of course, once it's all said and done, that he'll be, you know, one of the top players on that ballot to get elected and selected to be a Hall of Famer. It's like I say, it's just surreal to see the way he was able to do it, and the witnesses now, because we know how hard it is to win just one championship, and for Steph to be able to win, is it 4?
I think it's 4.
I mean, to have 4 and to have 2 MVPs and 1.
And he may not be done yet. I mean,
and
you
that
never
is true.
know. Yeah,
you never know. Just to see all the accolades that he was able to accomplish. I mean, I'm just so proud of him because again, everybody put him in this little box, and you know Virginia Tech didn't even want him,
right?
Because they
where
thought that
his father had played,
where his father had played, and where he had shined, and they thought that he was a skinny, small, you know, fragile kid, to where you know Davidson just opened up the door and said, "This is your opportunity," and he just took full advantage of it, and that's all you need. You know, that's what any kid need. You know, any kid need information, knowledge, and opportunity. You know, when they are able to have those type of resources, no telling what they're able to do with it.
Yeah. Do you and Dale, I know you're a big golfer. Are you good?
Nah, I don't want to say that. I don't want to go that far. I'm competitive,
right?
You know, and I love it's therapeutic for me out there.
I got you. Do you ever play any with Dale? You guys?
Yeah, Dale and I. We actually played on his birthday just here recently, and we had a great time.
Oh, good.
You know, we always get out there and enjoy our time with one another.
And Steph is actually playing on a national level. He played in the tournament with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all those guys on a national level. The kid is just amazingly talented, and Dale is, and so were you. Yes.
Yeah, he's a scratch golfer. I mean, Stephen he's off the chart. He really is. I mean, he's a better golfer than his dad as well. He just, you know, he's just one of those kids that understand that eye-hand coordination.
Right.
You know, and he's really taking it to another level, and I'm just so happy for him.
Well, we're going to take another break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about your charities. We're going to talk about everything you've been doing, because you got a lot on the plate. There's no doubt about that, which is great. That's fantastic. More on the Delano Little Show with Muggsy Bogues. Stay with us. And welcome back to the Delano Little Show here with Muggsy Bogues. And we were talking about your golf game. You have an annual charity event that you do. How's that been going, and how's it look in the future?
It's been going well. This is our 5th annual, I believe, that's coming up in September the 25th. That will be hosted at Longview Clubhouse here in Charlotte.
It's a nice golf course. Yeah.
It is truly a nice golf course. They do an amazing job of hosting us, and we're so thankful for that. We're just trying to do our part in the community. You know, our foundation, the Muggsy Bogues Family Foundation, where our vision and mission is purposely to serve the underserved youth and families, to try to live a better quality life through food insecurities, access to education, and workforce development.
Gotcha.
So we're just so thankful that some of the partners that's out there helping us try to accomplish this goal.
Yeah, you've been saying that, you've been talking, because you just rolled off right off the tongue what was going on with your mission statement there. That's awesome. You also been doing commercials.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen commercials. When I look up and say, "That's Muggsy," I'm like, "That's Muggsy." You know, you're doing a lot of commercials too. You're still hugely popular, man.
Well, just trying to stay relevant. You know, I'm grateful and thankful that companies want to do work with me and do some business on my behalf. So I'm just grateful in that regard. And again, we're just trying to do our part as we say, as a village, that in terms of trying to create these opportunities for these underserved, less fortunate folks and families that's out here that trying to, you know, live their best quality life as well. And you know, I'm just, again, Mom did a great job, and my dad instilled those type of values. So
it matters.
It does.
It matters.
It truly does. And when you're in a position to be able to make someone else's life a much more meaningful, then I'm all for that.
It's all about character.
Absolutely.
And that's something for, hopefully, some young athletes will be watching this, and I'm sure that just to see what you've done, and even Dale and Steph, what they've done, the families have done so well here representing the Charlotte area.
Well, that's the Christian way. It's all about serving, you know, serving and giving families who are less fortunate an opportunity, again, to be the best version of themselves. And if we have a platform and able to do that, that's what we're all about.
What are your bigger moments? I would imagine Wake Forest, getting your number retired probably at that situation. What about the movies? What about Hollywood? You know, did you love Hollywood? You've done a couple of movies and Space Jam.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful that those opportunities, you know, created themselves. The Space Jam, Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David and Richard Lewis. You know, Hang Time and Eddie and Joanna Man. So those.
You know what? By the way, I was up for Joanna Man. They wanted me. Yeah, they asked me. I actually did an audition for Joanna Man. And they said, we need a sportscaster.
Oh.
And so I went there and did my sportscaster voice, and they said it wasn't good enough.
No,
Sportscaster. What are you talking about?
No way.
So you took my role, Jordan.
Yeah, I was out there and part of that, yeah. But I mean, again, those opportunities, those cameo moments, man, you're just grateful and thankful and just cherish those moments. Again, the highlight of my career was, you know, the day I got drafted. You know, I always go back to that day when I said, you know, the weight of the world was lifted off your shoulders, hearing your name being called, getting to shake the commissioner's hand just like all the other guys, the big guys that have done it, and to be the smallest to ever do it, and to have that experience, that always will be one of the highest ranking moments of my life.
That's fantastic. Family life, do you get a chance to get out much? I mean, your daughter she handles a lot of your things as far as your charities are concerned. Just bright and shiny, and her and Steph grew up together. They still keep in touch as well?
Yeah, they do, and I'm just happy that the kids are blossoming into their own own little self and into adulthood, I should say, because my son is the youngest, who's 32, who works for the Hornets, and him and his wife just had their little baby. You know, my little grandson, Caden Curtis Bogues, is here with us. My granddaughter had her little daughter in back in April, in October. So we just thankful, man. The family tree is growing. My daughter's in Baltimore. She running her organization, child development organization. And here, as you alluded to, but my daughter Brittany, who's running all my stuff here in Charlotte, also running her company, the Bogues Group.
Wow.
And so I'm just thankful and grateful just to see everybody happy and healthy and living their best quality life.
It comes from you. It comes from the parents. It comes from it's always special to see that when you can help other people.
Absolutely.
We're gonna come back and we're gonna talk. I'm really to talk about your book. Okay. This road. Okay, we'll talk about that coming up here on the Delano Little Show. We're here with Muggsy Bogues. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Delano Little Show here with Muggsy Bogues. And Muggsy, we're just talking about something in the break, and I want to get to your book as well, real quick. But you just had a U.S. Naval tour. Is that what you're doing? Yes. And you're still giving out to other people, even to the Navy and to the military.
Absolutely. I had this opportunity to go on this tour where we was able to go boost the morale of the troops. We started off in Djibouti, Africa. Then we left there, went to Abu Dhabi, left there, and then went to Kuwait. Left Kuwait, then went to Bahrain, left Bahrain, and ended up in Cuba, where we ended the tour. I mean, it was such an enlightening experience for myself and the three other former players that went with me, Mario Chalmers, Jerome Junkyard Dodd, and Michael Cooper. I mean, just to see what all of our soldiers go through, what they all endure behind the scenes. I mean, to keep us home safe and free. It's amazing. It was so enlightening to witness that, and I'll be forever grateful and indebted to those individuals.
We did the military appreciation show here on the Delano Little Show, and if you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's really good. We talked to all the different professional sports teams here, their representatives, and they talked about what they all do for the military and how important that is, including Betsy Mack with the Charlotte Hornets. I know you're familiar with her as well. Quickly, your book. I mean, tell me, what can people find in your book?
Well, they can go to Amazon.com and find it. It's my second autobiography, believe it or not. I did one early on in '93 called In the Land of Giants. This one, it means a lot to me because it's after the fact, and it's more told by some of my teammates, people that I kind of play with, people that I suppose they have impacted throughout their life, and how they impacted my life. And it's about relationships. How me and my wife divorced for 10 years and found out way back with one another. Right. And we've been married for 8 more years now since we rekindled our relationship. It's just a lot of things that went on in my livelihood that I think I wanted to share with the fans and with the people, because it was during the time of COVID, and I felt like we need to put something positive that's out there to uplift an individual.
Right. Well, Muggsy Bogues, we appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate everything you've been doing since your time here at the Charlotte Hornets, since making me all mad when you wouldn't come straight down the lane. But it's just been fun to watch you over the years, and it's good to see you still doing and still being, as you said, relevant. You're still relevant, and we appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you having me on your show, big fella. I tell you, we go way back. Like I said, the very first day we started in '88, and then you still doing what you do behind the scenes and continue to uplift our community. I'm thankful to be on your show.
Muggsy Bogues, everybody, thank you for joining us. That's all the time we have for the Delano Little Show. We hope to see you next time.